The Galactic Council meeting was in full swing, an extravagant display of power and diplomacy as representatives from countless star systems argued over the fate of a small, seemingly insignificant planet on the outer edge of the Orion Arm. Earth. The Sarak delegate, a towering figure of sinewy muscle and glistening scales, sneered as he addressed the assembly. "We've monitored this backwater rock for centuries. Primitive, divided, weak. They struggle to even reach their closest planetary neighbors. Their species is no threat to the galactic order," he declared, receiving approving murmurs from several other factions. Ambassador Hrix of the Arcani, a race renowned for their intellectual superiority, adjusted his neural diodes and spoke with a tone dripping with condescension. "Earth is not worth our resources or concern. Their technology is rudimentary at best. We should move forward with planetary integration or simply eliminate any resistance." But it wasn't the dismissal that was surprising. It was the silence that followed when the representative from the Coalition of Independent Systems spoke. Ambassador Juno, a sharp-eyed, steel-voiced woman with a reputation for strategic cunning, leaned forward. "Is that what you truly believe?" Hrix tilted his head, confused. "Of course. Are you implying that these humans are anything more than a curiosity?" A slow, almost mocking smile crept onto Juno's face. "You think Earth is defenseless? You're wrong." The room erupted into laughter, loud and unabashed, from species who had conquered entire star clusters and rendered civilizations extinct. The Sarak ambassador pounded a clawed hand on his podium. "Your coalition is known for its sympathies to weaker races. Are you telling us that you've allied with Earth out of pity?" Juno didn't blink, didn't even flinch at the insult. "Pity? Number respect." Silence fell again, this time curious rather than mocking. Juno activated her holo-display, projecting reports and footage from deep space probes. 5 cycles ago, an Arcani probe disappeared near Sol. You assumed it was a technical fault. The reality? It was shot down. Hrix scoffed. "Impossible. No Earth weapon could detect our stealth systems." "That's what we thought, until we examined the wreckage. The projectile that hit it? Simple, kinetic, but the targeting system? That was human ingenuity at its finest. They didn't detect the ship. They predicted its path, calculated it based on gravitational anomalies and energy signatures, shot it down from a planetary surface with a railgun prototype." Murmurs swept the chamber, disbelief mixed with intrigue. Juno swiped through more data. Images of wrecked scout ships, interference patterns jamming communication arrays, and human ships escorting alien refugees away from conflict zones. They've been reverse engineering stolen tech, integrating it with their own innovations. We underestimated them because they looked primitive. But humans, they adapt faster than any species I've seen. You know what they've been doing? Learning from every mistake, studying us. While we dismissed them, they've been preparing. The Sarak ambassador growled. "A few lucky shots and scattered reports don't make them a threat. They are nothing but animals playing with fire." Juno straightened. Her expression hardened. "You thought Earth was defenseless. You thought humans would be crushed by the first sign of interstellar war. But you don't understand them. Their history is nothing but conflict, survival, rising from the ashes. When the Zarnak invaded their colony on Mars, humans didn't beg for help. They destroyed the Zarnak forward base with explosives rigged from mining charges." The council chamber buzzed with uneasy energy. The Sarak ambassador snarled, frustration clear on his face. "They're reckless, desperate. That's not strength." "Is it?" Juno shot back. "You think their unpredictability is a weakness? It's what makes them dangerous. They don't follow predictable patterns. They don't submit. And when backed into a corner, they fight like demons. Your arrogance blinds you. Humans are not to be underestimated, and if you bring war to their doorstep, they will make you pay for every inch." As the council murmured and whispered, the realization began to dawn on some. Earth wasn't defenseless. It was a powder keg, waiting for the right spark to explode. And the galaxy had just begun to notice. Juno gave one last warning before leaving the podium. Mark my words, underestimate humanity, and it will be the last mistake you ever make. She left the chamber in silence, but the weight of her words lingered long after. The council knew they had a choice to make. Peace or war. One would strengthen their alliance, and the other would ignite the most unpredictable force the galaxy had ever seen. Back on Earth, the mood was different. In a sprawling underground command center buried deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, General Mark Donovan stared at the array of holographic displays in front of him. The room buzzed with energy as technicians and analysts monitored deep space feeds and tactical reports from the farthest human outposts. Colonel Reyes approached, her face set in a grim expression. General, we've just intercepted another transmission from the Galactic Council. It seems they're still debating our fate. Mark gave a short, humorless laugh. Debating whether to crush us or ignore us, you mean? Typical arrogance. He rubbed his temples, his graying hair a testament to years of stress and war. Any word from Ambassador Juno? Yes, sir. Her message is clear. Some of them still think we're easy pickings, but she managed to sow enough doubt to buy us time. The Sahrak and Arcani delegations are the most vocal about taking action against us. Mark clenched his jaw. Figures. The Sahrak want to dominate, and the Arcani want to preserve their so-called intellectual superiority. They won't accept humans disrupting their precious order. Reyes hesitated. Sir, there's something else. The scout ships we intercepted last week. They were Arcani. Advanced cloaking, top-tier surveillance tech. They've been probing our outer colonies, testing our defenses. Mark's fists tightened. They're looking for weaknesses. They're not just curious, they're planning. We can't let them catch us off guard. Reyes nodded. We've increased patrols along the Mars corridor and have repositioned the orbital defense platforms around Earth and Luna. Admiral Chen is overseeing the final upgrades to the railgun network. Good. If they come, they'll find we're not as helpless as they think. Mark turned back to the central display, where a map of the solar system pulsed with incoming data. He couldn't help but think of the early days, back when humanity was still scrambling to build reliable space travel. They'd been naive then, thinking they were alone. The first contact wars had shattered that illusion, and the brutal reality of the galaxy had forced Earth to become something entirely different. Survival had meant adapting, not just copying alien tech, but improving it, pushing it to new limits. Humans didn't just absorb. They innovated, twisted, and weaponized everything they learned. And the galaxy had no idea just how much they'd advanced. Sir, Reyes interrupted his thoughts. We've received word from the mining colonies on Titan. They've detected unusual gravitational signatures, likely a cloaked fleet. It matches the Sarek energy profile. Mark's eyes narrowed. They're testing our response. Prepare the Titan defense grid. Activate the decoy satellites. Let's see if they're bold enough to take the bait. Reyes gave a curt nod and began issuing orders. Within minutes, the Titan grid was humming with energy, railguns and missile platforms powering up while false energy signatures danced around the perimeter. Mark watched the screens intently. The Sahrak were known for their brute force tactics, always charging in when they thought they had the upper hand. If they took the bait, it would give Earth a critical opportunity to study their fleet composition and battle tactics. Suddenly, a technician shouted, "Incoming transmission from the Sahrak flagship. They're broadcasting on all frequencies." "Put it through," Mark ordered. The hologram flickered to life, and the image of the Sahrak warlord filled the room, massive, scaled, and bristling with weapons. His yellow eyes glared through the screen. "Humans," he growled, voice rumbling like thunder. You cower on your pathetic world, hiding behind your toys. Surrender now, and we will make your deaths swift." Mark stepped forward, his own gaze unyielding. "We don't surrender, Warlord. And if you think Earth is defenseless, you're about to learn just how wrong you are." The Warlord bared his fangs, snarling. "Bold words for prey. We will crush your defenses and raze your cities to the ground." "Try it," Mark replied, his tone colder than space itself. "You'll find that humans don't break. We bite back." With a savage roar, the Warlord cut the transmission. Mark glanced at Reyes, who gave a firm nod. "Orders, sir?" "Hold fire until they cross the inner perimeter. Let them think we're too afraid to strike first. Once they're committed, we'll hit them with everything we've got. And send a message to Ambassador Juno. Let her know the Sahrak are making their move." As the war drums of the Sahrak echoed across the solar system, Mark knew that Earth's fate hung in the balance. But he wasn't afraid. Humanity had faced extinction before, and every time they'd clawed their way back from the brink. This time would be no different. The Sahrak fleet emerged from their cloaking fields with brutal efficiency, a wall of spiked warships cutting through the darkness of space. Titan loomed in the background, its thick atmosphere swirling with methane storms. But the Sahrak didn't care about the planet. They wanted blood. From the command deck of the Obsidian Claw, Warlord Korak snarled as he watched the human defenses light up on his screens. Weak, scattered energy signatures flickered across the Titan grid, nothing that could challenge the might of his armada. "Forward! Break their lines and make them beg for mercy," Korak barked, his clawed hand striking the command console. His officers hissed in excitement, eager to taste the glory of conquest. But something wasn't right. One of his tacticians hissed with unease. "Warlord, the energy signatures, they're erratic. Some of them are fluctuating without consistent power output." "Malfunctioning, no doubt," Korak snapped, dismissing the thought. "Their technology is a cobbled-together mess. Humans are barely out of their infancy." He watched as his ships moved in perfect formation, sleek black vessels bristling with plasma lances and electromagnetic cannons. The lead warships surged forward, preparing to unleash a torrent of firepower on the scattered human outposts. And then, all at once, the decoy satellites shut down. The Sahrak fleet hesitated, confused, when suddenly the real defense grid activated. A perfect sphere of railgun fire and missile salvos erupted from Titan's surface, slicing through the void. Korak snarled as two of his destroyers shattered, debris scattering into the icy rings of Saturn. "What is this trickery?" he roared. Back on Earth, General Mark Donovan watched the battle unfold with grim satisfaction. "They took the bait," he murmured. Colonel Reyes stood beside him, eyes fixed on the tactical display. "They're trying to reorganize, but our interference field is scrambling their communications." "Good," Mark replied. "Keep up the pressure. Launch the orbital bombers from Europa. Target their rear formations. We'll herd them right into the kill zone." In space, the Sahrak fleet struggled to regroup. Korak growled, slamming his fist into the console. "Deploy countermeasures. Scatter and flank. These humans dare to humiliate us?" As the Sahrak ships dispersed, a second wave of human ships appeared on the long-range sensors, Europa's bomber wing, dropping kinetic projectiles that streaked through space like fiery comets. The Sahrak rearguard shattered under the relentless barrage, explosions painting the darkness with vivid orange and yellow bursts. Warlord Korak roared in fury. "How? How did they anticipate our attack pattern? They're supposed to be mindless savages," his second-in-command hissed, a trace of fear in his voice. "Warlord, they're using unpredictable tactics. Their formations change constantly. We can't get a lock on their patterns." Korak's jaw tightened as he struggled to comprehend the chaos unfolding before him. The humans were supposed to be weak, an afterthought. But they fought like demons, turning every mistake into an opportunity. The Sarak were powerful, yes, but they relied on brute strength and unwavering confidence. Humanity's unpredictability shattered that confidence like glass. "Signal the fleet to fall back to the rally point," Korak commanded, hating himself for the order. "We must regroup and reassess." Before his officers could comply, a new signal pierced through their encrypted channels. A human transmission, calm and mocking. General Donovan's voice resonated through the command deck. "Running away already? I thought the Sarak were supposed to be fearless warriors. Guess I was wrong." Korak's eyes blazed with fury. "You dare speak to me as an equal human filth?" "I'm just reminding you that picking a fight with Earth was your mistake," Donovan replied coolly. "You thought we'd roll over and die. But here's a lesson for you. Humans don't surrender, and we don't forgive." The transmission cut out, and the obsidian claw shuddered as more railgun slugs hammered its shields. Korak glared at his tactical officer. "Bring us about. Focus fire on their command ship." But even as he barked the order, new contacts appeared on the display. Human frigates slipping into position behind his fleet, cutting off the retreat. The Sarak ships were trapped, encircled, their massive size now a disadvantage as agile human vessels darted through the gaps. Korak's confidence, once so unshakable, crumbled as he realized the truth. Earth wasn't just resisting, they were winning. And he had walked right into their trap. On Earth, Mark watched the chaotic retreat with grim satisfaction. "Send a message to the Galactic Council," he ordered. "Inform them that the Sarak attempted an unprovoked attack on a human colony and were decisively defeated. Make sure the footage of their flagship fleeing is prominently featured." Reyes couldn't suppress a smirk. "That'll send a message loud and clear." Mark nodded, knowing this was just the beginning. The galaxy had underestimated humanity for too long. But now, the illusion of Earth's weakness was shattered. And the Council would have to think twice before declaring humans an easy target again. In the aftermath of the battle, Earth's forces remained on high alert. The wreckage of the Sarak fleet drifted through Titan's orbit, the shattered hulks of warships slowly tumbling into the void. Recovery teams were already on their way to scavenge technology and gather intelligence, but General Mark Donovan wasn't celebrating. He stood in the war room, staring at the tactical displays that still pulsed with activity. Colonel Reyes joined him, holding a data slate filled with after-action reports. Damage to the defense grid was minimal. We lost one escort frigate, but the crew managed to evacuate. The Sarak fleet has been effectively neutralized. Only a few crippled ships managed to escape. Mark didn't look away from the screen. "Any word from Ambassador Juno?" "Yes, sir. She's in session with the Galactic Council. Reports are pouring in from their intelligence networks. They can't believe what just happened. Word spreading that the great Sarak Armada was humiliated by a supposedly primitive species." Mark allowed himself a small, satisfied smile. "Good. Let them choke on their pride." Reyes hesitated, glancing at the display. "But we both know this isn't over. The Sarak will want revenge. The Arcani will reassess their stance, and others might see this as an opportunity to test us." Mark nodded. "Yeah. Victory or not, we've just painted a target on our backs. They'll be coming, but that's fine. We'll be ready." As the news of Earth's unexpected triumph spread throughout the galactic community, chaos erupted within the council chambers. Ambassador Juno stood calm and resolute as representatives from countless star systems hurled accusations and arguments across the hall. "This is unacceptable," Ambassador Hrix of the Arcani snarled, his neural diodes sparking with agitation. "Humans have demonstrated a blatant disregard for galactic order. They must be brought under control." Juno met his gaze with an icy calm. "We defended our territory. The Sarak attacked without provocation. You'd rather see Earth destroyed just to maintain your sense of superiority?" The Sarak representative, blood still staining his ceremonial armor, growled low and deep. Your kind dared to humiliate us. The dishonor cannot be forgiven. Your planet will burn. Juno raised an eyebrow. Is that the official stance of your government? To commit genocide because you lost a battle you started? The chamber fell silent as Juno's words echoed through the hall. The Sarak ambassador's mouth snapped shut, realizing too late that his threat had been recorded and broadcast to every faction present. Some delegates began murmuring, wary of aligning with the Sarak after such a brazen statement. Juno seized the moment, her voice firm and clear. Humanity didn't ask for this war. We didn't provoke the Sarak, nor did we threaten any galactic power. Yet we were attacked, and we defended ourselves. If the Council chooses to stand with the aggressors, then know this. We will not be victims. We will not be subjugated. Anyone who thinks Earth is easy prey is welcome to test that assumption. Just don't expect mercy when you fail. There was a palpable tension in the room. The weaker factions, often intimidated by the more dominant species, found themselves quietly impressed. Humanity had stood its ground and sent a clear message. They wouldn't be bullied. After the session adjourned, Juno retreated to the Coalition's private chambers, where a secure transmission awaited her from Earth. Mark's face appeared on the holoscreen, his expression as grim as ever. You put on a good show, he said. Juno sighed, rubbing her temples. Not sure it's enough. We humiliated the Sarak, and now they're too proud to back down. The Council's divided. Some want to punish us for disrupting the balance. Others are impressed with how we fought back. Either way, we're on everyone's radar now. Mark grunted. Let them come. We've got more surprises waiting for them. Juno leaned closer to the screen, her tone more cautious. Mark, I know you're confident, but this isn't just about battles. It's politics. We need allies. Species willing to stand with us, not just out of fear, but because they see value in humanity's resolve. Mark's face softened, just a bit. I get it. I'm not good at the diplomacy crap. That's why you're there. But know this. If they come for us, we'll make them regret it. I won't let Earth fall, no matter what. A faint smile touched Juno's lips. I know you won't. Just be careful. We're playing a dangerous game now. They'll come at us from every angle, politically, militarily, economically. We can't afford to be caught off guard. Mark nodded. Understood. I'll keep reinforcing our defenses and expanding our alliances on the fringes. Let's see how brave they are when they realize we're not just one planet. We're a force that refuses to bow. As the transmission ended, Juno took a deep breath. Humanity had shown its teeth, but the galaxy wasn't going to forget it. They had proven their strength, but now they had to prove their resilience. And Juno knew that the real battle was only just beginning. In the days that followed the battle, the Galactic Council remained in chaos. Factions argued, alliances shifted, and rumors of the Sarak defeat spread like wildfire. Species that had once dismissed humanity now scrambled to reassess their stance. Some saw opportunity in aligning with Earth, while others planned to exploit the fallout of the Sarak humiliation. Back on Earth, General Mark Donovan was reviewing the latest intelligence reports when Colonel Reyes hurried into the command center. Sir, you need to see this, she said, handing him a data tablet. Mark glanced down and frowned. The report was from Admiral Chen, stationed at the Luna Orbital Command. Unidentified fleet approaching Sol system. Composition, mixed species, at least 4 different factions. Energy signatures consistent with Arcani, Velith, Tharnok, and Grell. His grip tightened on the tablet. Are they forming a coalition against us? Reyes shook her head. Not yet clear. They haven't made any aggressive moves, but they're broadcasting standard diplomatic frequencies. They're requesting a meeting at Luna Command. Mark narrowed his eyes, suspicion gnawing at him. What the hell are they playing at? The Arcani and Tharnok hate each other. Grell haven't even been seen this far out of their home systems before. Maybe they're scared, Reyes suggested. After the Sarek got their tails handed to them, these factions might be trying to gauge our intentions, or they're here to pressure us into submission. Mark nodded slowly, his mind racing through the possibilities. Tell Admiral Chen to accept the meeting request, but keep our defensive systems on high alert, and get me a secure line to Ambassador Juno. A few minutes later, Juno's face appeared on the holo screen, looking more exhausted than usual. Mark, I heard. A coalition fleet at Luna? What's their angle? That's what I'm trying to figure out, Mark replied. They're asking for a meeting, but I'm not buying it. These factions don't just band together without a damn good reason. Juno chewed her lip thoughtfully. It's possible they're hedging their bets. After what happened with the Sarek, they're probably second-guessing their stance on humanity. Some of them might even be looking for allies, especially the Grell. They've always been opportunistic. Mark considered that, leaning back in his chair. Think they're trying to intimidate us into playing nice, or testing our reaction? Could be both, Juno admitted. But if they wanted to attack, they wouldn't bother with a diplomatic channel. My gut says they're feeling out our intentions. If we play this right, we might be able to turn it to our advantage. All right, Mark agreed. I'll head to Luna myself. If they're looking for someone to intimidate, they can try it face to face. You keep holding the line at the council. Make sure they know we're not backing down. Juno gave him a faint smile. Just be careful. They might be looking for any excuse to provoke a conflict. Mark ended the transmission and glanced at Reyes. Prep the Valkyrie and assemble a security detail. We're heading to Luna. As the sleek black shuttle Valkyrie hurtled through space, Mark sat in the cockpit, his mind running through scenarios. The last thing he wanted was to appear weak or desperate. Humanity had fought too hard to carve out a place in the galaxy to let some coalition of opportunists push them around. When they arrived at Luna Command, Admiral Chen greeted them with a sharp salute. The delegation is waiting in Conference Room Delta. They insisted on meeting without heavy security. Mark scoffed. Of course they did. They want to feel like they're in control. Make sure our forces are ready to respond if anything goes sideways. Entering the conference room, Mark found 4 alien representatives waiting, each distinct and unmistakable. Hrix of the Arcani sat at the far end, his neural diodes flickering with irritation. The Tharnok ambassador, a brutish, armor-plated giant, stood rigid and wary. The Grell diplomat, a wiry insectoid creature with chitinous limbs, clicked its mandibles rhythmically. And finally, the Velith emissary, a graceful figure wrapped in shimmering robes, watched with calculating eyes. Mark, I just finished another round at the council. The fallout from the Sarek defeat is still spreading. A few smaller factions are cautiously approaching us with offers of cooperation. Seems like they're hedging their bets. They're too weak to challenge the big players, so they're looking for new allies. Mark smirked. Let them come. We could use more friends. But be careful. They might just be gathering intel for the others. Agreed, Juno replied. But there's something else. The Arcani delegation has been unusually quiet since your meeting on Luna. I think they're planning something. They're too proud to just let this go. Mark's expression hardened. I expected as much. They've always seen themselves as the intellectual elite. Being outmaneuvered by primitives like us doesn't sit well with their ego. Keep digging. I want to know what they're planning before they make a move. Will do. And Mark, be careful. We've proven we're not defenseless, but that just means they'll get more creative next time. He gave a short nod. You too. If they try to corner you at the council, don't hesitate to push back. We're done playing the underdog. As the transmission ended, Mark let out a slow breath. They'd won a battle, but the war for Earth's place in the galaxy was just beginning. He couldn't afford to be complacent. not when the galaxy was still looking for any sign of weakness. Down on Earth, life carried on as usual. People went to work, children played in parks, and news of the victory over the Sarak was celebrated with cautious optimism. But in the shadows, the gears of preparation never stopped turning. In a subterranean lab beneath the Colorado mountains, scientists and engineers worked tirelessly, dissecting captured Sarak technology and integrating it with human innovations. Reverse-engineered plasma weapons, enhanced energy shields, and adaptive camouflage systems were being developed at a feverish pace. One of the lead engineers, Dr. Lena Vasquez, monitored a power fluctuation in the prototype railgun system when her assistant approached with urgent news. "Doctor, we've finished analyzing the wreckage from the Sarak flagship. You're not going to believe this. They were experimenting with a new form of bio-enhanced neural control. It's like they were trying to link their command systems directly to the warlord's brain." Lena frowned. "Bio-neural control? Sounds risky as hell. What's the point?" The assistant hesitated. "It's designed to increase reaction time and combat efficiency. The problem is, it makes them vulnerable to neural overload. If we can disrupt the link, we might be able to incapacitate their command structure without even firing a shot." A slow grin spread across Lena's face. "Get me the schematics. If they come back for round 2, we'll make sure their own arrogance tears them apart." As humanity continued to prepare, one thing was clear. Earth was no longer just a backwater world ripe for conquest. It was a force to be reckoned with, and those who underestimated it would pay the price. And far beyond the solar system, in the dimly lit halls of the Sarak High Command, Warlord Korak faced the brutal consequences of his failure. Stripped of his rank and honor, he knelt before the Supreme Warlord, who glared down at him with cold, merciless eyes. "You failed to crush a world of primitives," the Supreme Warlord hissed. "You allowed them to humiliate the Sarak Dominion." Korak dared not raise his eyes. They were more formidable than anticipated. Their tactics were— "Silence," the Supreme Warlord roared. "You've brought disgrace to our people. The humans will learn their place, through fire and blood. You are dismissed, and your name will be stricken from our records." As Korak was dragged away in chains, the Supreme Warlord turned to his advisors. "Prepare the Warbringer fleet. Earth will be reduced to ash. I want every trace of their defiance wiped from existence." The galaxy might have learned to fear humanity, but for the Sarak, it wasn't fear. It was hate. And they were prepared to unleash everything they had to reclaim their lost honor. The news of the Sarak Warbringer fleet mobilizing spread quickly through the galactic networks, and it didn't take long for the intelligence to reach Earth. In the war room beneath the Rocky Mountains, General Mark Donovan listened to the report with a hardened expression, his jaw clenched so tight it hurt. Colonel Reyes stood next to him, her face grim. "It's confirmed, sir. The Warbringer fleet consists of the Sarak's most elite ships, dreadnoughts, carriers, and destroyers. They've mobilized their entire strike force. Initial projections estimate they'll arrive in the Sol system within 3 weeks. Mark forced himself to stay calm, even though his pulse pounded with anger. "They're going all in. They want to crush us, make an example out of Earth. They can't let the rest of the galaxy think we're a legitimate threat." Reyes hesitated. "It's worse than that, sir. Some of the other factions are watching carefully. If the Sarak succeed, they'll see it as confirmation that humanity should be suppressed. If we lose this fight, they'll all pile on. We won't just lose Earth, we'll lose everything." Mark exhaled slowly, his mind racing through options. "Then we don't lose. We make this their worst mistake." He pulled up the strategic map on the central display, showing the expected trajectory of the Warbringer fleet. They would be approaching from the outer system, likely using Neptune and Uranus as staging points before making their final push toward Earth. "How are the weapon upgrades progressing?" he asked. Orbital defense platforms around Mars are at 70% capacity, Reyes replied. Europa's bomber squadrons have been refitted with the new plasma disruptors. Titan's railgun grid is fully operational, and Luna Command has activated the latest countermeasures to disrupt cloaked approaches. Mark nodded. Good. We're going to use every trick we've got. No more playing it safe. I want minefields around the Jovian moons. Use the gravity wells to hide them, and deploy decoy signals along the Kuiper belt to draw their scouts off course. Reyes raised an eyebrow. Sir, are you planning to engage them that far out? Mark gave a thin, cold smile. Number, I want them to think we're defending the outer system. We'll lure their vanguard out, hit them with long-range artillery from Callisto and Ganymede, and then fall back. They'll think they're pushing through our main line of defense. When they get closer to Mars, that's when we hit them with everything we've got. Reyes caught on, her own smirk forming. We're baiting them into a kill zone. Smart. They'll be too committed to retreat once they're past the asteroid belt. Exactly, Mark said. And if they try to bypass it, we'll cut them off with the orbital bombers. Either way, they're not reaching Earth without bleeding for it. As orders were relayed and preparations intensified, Mark reached out to Ambassador Juno on a secure channel. She appeared on the holoscreen, looking exhausted but resolute. I take it you've heard, she said, not bothering with pleasantries. Yeah, they're throwing their biggest guns at us, Mark replied. How's the Council taking it? Juno gave a bitter laugh. Mixed reactions. Some factions are terrified. They know if the Sarrak crush us, they'll be next in line. Others think it's our comeuppance for daring to stand up to the established order. But there's something else you should know. I've been approached by the Velith emissary. Quietly. She hinted that if we survive this, they might support granting Earth official status as a recognized power. Mark raised an eyebrow. They're playing both sides. Of course they are. If we win, they'll claim they always supported us. If we lose, they'll pretend they never got involved. Typical politics. He shook his head. Fine. Let them maneuver. We'll worry about alliances after we're not dead. Keep pushing our case at the Council. Make it clear that this isn't just about Earth. If the Sarrak succeed, they'll see it as permission to crush any world that dares challenge them. Understood. Stay safe, Mark. The galaxy's watching. He ended the call, his focus shifting back to the battle plans. The Sarrak wanted to make an example out of humanity. They wanted to prove that Earth's defiance was nothing more than a fleeting annoyance. But Mark had other plans. Humanity had fought its way out of extinction before. They'd clawed their way to the stars with sheer determination and ingenuity. And he wasn't about to let some overconfident alien empire tear it all down. A few hours later, the engineers reported to the command center with promising news. Dr. Lena Vasquez, always practical and no-nonsense, presented the data with barely concealed excitement. We've cracked it, she announced. The neural control systems on the Sarrak ships. They're designed for rapid, synchronized movements, but they're extremely vulnerable to feedback loops. If we hit them with an intense EM pulse calibrated to their bio-neural frequency, it'll overload their command networks. Mark's eyes lit up. You're saying we can disrupt their entire fleet? Temporarily, yes, Lena confirmed. It won't last long, maybe a few minutes at most, but it'll be enough to throw their formations into chaos. Mark grinned. That's all we need. Retrofit the EM pulse tech onto the Europa bombers and set up ground-based emitters on Mars and Luna. We're going to make sure that when they come, they'll regret ever setting foot in our system. As the final preparations were made, Mark took a moment to look out at the vastness of space from the observation deck. He knew the Sarrak would come with fire and fury, eager to reclaim their lost honor. But this wasn't just about Earth anymore. Humanity had proven that they weren't defenseless, that they wouldn't be trampled underfoot. The galaxy was watching, waiting to see whether Earth would stand or fall. And Mark was damn sure they were going to stand. The Sarrak Warbringer fleet arrived on the outskirts of the Sol system, like a vast glimmering storm, their dreadnoughts casting long shadows over the frozen moons of Neptune. At the helm of the flagship Ravager of Stars, Supreme Warlord Korthak stood tall, his armored frame exuding raw power. He looked out at the void, convinced of his inevitable triumph. "Today we reclaim our honor," he growled to his assembled officers. "The humans will earn their place beneath our boots." Signals from the vanguard reported no resistance, just scattered energy signatures and faint radar pings. Korthak sneered. "Pathetic. They've abandoned their outer defenses. Cowards." But just as he gave the order to advance, the void around Neptune erupted. Railgun slugs tore through the vanguard ships, ripping hulls apart with pinpoint accuracy. Korthak's eyes widened as energy spikes flared across the fleet's sensors. The hidden artillery platforms on Triton and Nereid had fired in perfect synchronization, catching the Sarak off guard. "Deploy countermeasures," he roared, but the damage was done. The vanguard was in disarray, several cruisers already obliterated. Yet despite the surprise attack, Korthak ordered the fleet forward. "They are desperate," he barked. "Push through and crush their defenses." As the fleet surged inward, Sarak scouts detected decoy signals around Uranus and the asteroid belt, but the real trap awaited them closer to Mars. Human bombers from Europa struck with precision, unleashing plasma disruptors that sent shockwaves through the enemy's formation. Dreadnought shields flickered and failed as smaller escort ships disintegrated. But Korthak pressed on, his pride outweighing caution. "Forward! We will drown them in fire." Then came the pulse. From hidden emitters on Mars and Luna, electromagnetic waves burst forth, synchronized with pinpoint accuracy to the Sarak neural frequencies. The Warbringer fleet shuddered, ships veering off course, some crashing into each other as command networks overloaded. Warlord Korthak's own flagship spasmed as control interfaces flickered, and for a few crucial minutes, the fleet was paralyzed. General Mark Donovan seized the moment. "All units, full assault! Target the dreadnoughts while they're blind." From Earth's orbital platforms and Mars' fortified railgun emplacements, a torrent of firepower screamed through space. Bombers strafed the disabled ships, railgun slugs pierced hulls, and missile swarms found their marks. The mighty Ravager of Stars took a direct hit to its propulsion core, sending it spiraling toward Mars' gravity well. In the chaos, Korthak struggled to regain control, his neural interface throbbing with feedback pain. "No, this cannot be," he bellowed as his flagship began to break apart, flames licking through ruptured decks. As the EM pulse faded, some of the surviving Sarak ships began to regain mobility, but it was too late. Their formations were shattered, coordination broken. A few warlords tried to rally their forces, but human fighter wings and bombers continued to pick them off one by one. Realizing the battle was lost, the remaining Sarak ships attempted to retreat, but Earth's forces didn't relent. One by one, the invincible dreadnoughts of the Warbringer fleet were destroyed or captured, leaving nothing but debris and flickering fires scattered through the void. In the war room, a collective cheer erupted as Mark received confirmation of the final kill. Colonel Reyes couldn't help but grin. "We did it. The Warbringer fleet is gone. Earth is safe." Mark allowed himself a rare smile, though his eyes remained sharp. "Broadcast to the Galactic Council. Let them know the Sarak invasion has been neutralized. Make sure the footage of their flagship crashing onto Mars is the first thing they see." Reyes saluted and went to relay the message, while Mark leaned back and let out a slow breath. The adrenaline still pulsed through his veins, but there was something deeply satisfying about proving to the galaxy that Earth wasn't just a target, they were a force to be reckoned with. The news spread like wildfire. Galactic networks buzzed with shock and disbelief as the impossible became reality. Earth had defeated the mighty Warbringer fleet. No one could deny humanity's power now. Even factions that had planned to exploit Earth's downfall suddenly reconsidered, cautious of provoking such a resilient and unpredictable enemy. Back at the Galactic Council, Ambassador Juno delivered the final blow to the Sarak's pride. The Sarak claimed humanity was a disease to be wiped out. Instead, they are the ones retreating, shattered and broken. Let it be known that Earth will not be a victim to arrogance and conquest. The Council could only watch in stunned silence as the undeniable truth settled in. Humanity had not only survived, they had risen, unbroken and unbowed. In the following weeks, new diplomatic channels opened as species that had once looked down on Earth now sought alliances. Some wanted technology exchanges, others just wanted to avoid humanity's wrath. The Valeth emissary officially endorsed Earth's recognition as an independent power, and other factions cautiously followed suit. But amidst the celebration, Mark remained vigilant. The galaxy was vast and unpredictable, and while Earth had won a crucial victory, it had also become the focal point of countless eyes, some with respect, others with envy. In a private moment on the observation deck, Mark looked out at the stars, the remnants of battle still glimmering faintly in Mars's orbit. He knew the galaxy would never see Earth the same way again. They thought humanity was defenseless. They thought Earth would crumble under pressure. But Earth had proven one undeniable truth. Humans didn't just survive. They fought back, and they fought to win. And now, the galaxy knew better than to underestimate them.